fairly standard, I'd say. The newly dead is going to get a little awkward because it's going to be a challenge. Oh no. Not like this. Alright, if you have a drink, pour one out for your murder wing here. Look at the snowball gloating about this. Look at the snowball gloating about this. Welcome back, everyone, to Random Thoughts. We have more Fright Night action for you today, and in fact, we have two players featuring some rather unique avatars. We got in the blue trunks, DT featuring Leshy, and in the orange trunks, we have Player Himself featuring Sucky, the usual meme on the channel, one of the memes on the channel. And we're zoning into Rent Past Due. Now, we'll see how this plays out for our players. Let's get to it. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. Now, the opener from DT is somewhat unique here. Typically, you see a 3 and a 1, again, murder wings plus cats or other things in order to actually cap this point up here and then this bottom point eventually. Instead, we get a cassowary and a droney, which is becoming a signature DT play. We've seen other players do it, but DT has really been leaning into this droney opener on the larger maps because there are a number of points like this that you can cap right off the bat, as we can see with this droney. So I like this play. And the cassowary also allows you to threaten other things more. I'm not sure I'm sold on it simply because the murder wing can shoo it away. It's all going to depend on the numbers, of course, but ultimately this will probably swing down, and the droney can now cross the map and claim whichever points it feels like. So we get the murder wing follow-up. We actually get an advance from the cassowary, presumably in order to threaten this, try and trap that murder wing if it wants to do that. So murder wing is followed up by Venus, and we have a bachelor to match on the blue side. Our blue player banked a single key, so they're up to 6, which represents a pretty important breakpoint. There's a variety of 6 keys that could come out and be very relevant on this map. We'll have to see what happens. But how is our orange player going to respond, aside from Venus inching its way up so that it can start laying traps? Now, it should not be able to lay a trap this... Actually, it could lay a trap this turn, because Venus is a 2 move, right? No, Venus is a 1 move. So it's not going to lay a trap this turn. And we get a Gesundheit plus a creep follow-up. Now, and a cowbell as well. I can appreciate expending all of these keys on smaller things in order to try and claw back some map control, because right now it's a 3-to-1 panic point advantage, and it's not getting any better. Because we're going to see the bachelor come down here, claim another point. It's now 4-to-1 on these big maps, which represents a lot of damage going towards the heart. And of course, the droney has been able to stay alive, therefore it's going to threaten recapping points whenever you let your guard down. In the meantime, DT is continuing to bank all the way up to 8 by dropping a Mopsy on the board, as well as AWOL. These are both good follow-ups so that way you can try and reclaim that middle point, which is presumably going to get hit by a trap. 590 damage, which means that AWOL can't actually claim this, because unfortunately, you will die and then you won't reclaim it. But the resurrect phobies are a great answer because they'll get to resurrect. So in the meantime, we get the creep inching up towards the north. We get some reinforcements on the center because presumably, yes, this cowbell's going to die. Shocker, I know. And then it's going to get replaced by one of these 1 keys from DT. The newly deads up here are an answer to a degree, but they're going to take some time to inch their way up. In the meantime, we actually do see the AWOL going down so that it can get a hit onto Venus, which I can respect. I think that makes sense. And we get droney coming in to get into the mix. Not quite the assassin droney that we've seen in other games, but it is softening it up. And then we get the murder wing hit, and oh, whoa. Two things happened here. One, we get a smiley. We also get a trap that landed on this murder wing. Yeah, the traps don't always show in the replays. Traps don't always show. So we get an advance from the remaining phobies. And then we get some clearing out of the remaining ones. And unfortunately, that's a lot of keys that went down on DT's side. Unfortunate for DT, of course. I'm sure players kind of okay with that. So we clean them up, but there's no easy phobie just yet to reclaim the center point. The newly dead needs another turn. We'll get there. And we get the Hevo answer. Hevo is fairly strong in general, but of course, as we saw in other replays, answer the smiley, right? Then we get a Blastomatic. Blastomatic has become somewhat of a signature for DT. It's shown up in a lot of these Fright Night replays. You can check out the Fright Night #1 replays on this YouTube channel, or if you want to come hang out and play in your own Fright Night games, check out the Random Slots Discord in the YouTube description. So, as mentioned, it's kind of become a signature for DT, but player here is fairly aggressively invading to try and clean stuff out. Clearly, the Hevo can soften up the smiley. We get an elimination on Cassowary. This is a fairly healthy murder wing, so we don't really expect it to die. It's going to be a challenge for that to happen. And the positioning here means that Smiley is not really going to connect with much of value. The Bachelor Invade does soften up the Gesundheit. We'll have to see if we get a big freaking laser hit, because that's how I'd expect DT to get back in this. Oh, another trap. So the Resurrecting Undead here is doing its job clearing out the traps, which is important. Leaving them there would just lead to a really unfortunate swing leader in the game. But at this stage, we have 11 keys banked for blue and 10 for orange. We're going to have to see who actually expends some keys here. Uh-oh. We see the elimination on the Resurrect and getting out with the Murder Wing makes sense. We get a disease spread to both Ginsting as well as Gesundheit. Ironically, Gesundheit is diseased, so Gesundheit goes down. I'm not sure why this newly dead made its way up here, although I guess it's fine. But the splash damage on Blastomatic comes down all the same. I guess it reduces some of the damage from, or some of the damage done to Hevo anyway, so there's something to be said for that. Well, we do get a Mr. Tramples follow-up. It eliminates the newly dead and presents a fairly enormous threat here on its own. This is a 682, aka a level 7 Mr. Tramples. So, while there's going to be the big softening up of these by having all of these phobies hit, Mr. Tramples can get a fairly solid hit on at least 2 here. I don't believe there's any way... Oh, it does go down. I was about to say, I don't think there's any way that it goes down, but that actually is big. Oh, no. That's a 7-key investment just incinerated here. Honestly, I forgot about the Murder Wing. It was kind of blending in here. But with Meatball live, yeah. Ouch. The Ginsting hit, the Hevo hits. Then we get the Creep hit. Which, how often does Creep actually, you know, puke on something like that? This is... oof. All of a sudden, yeah, Blastomatic staring down a Blastomatic and friends. And that's GG? Yeah, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. It was even until that miscalculation. I think it was favoring player. But yes, it obviously, Mr. Tramples lives here. It's a way different game. But yeah, this will seal it. Panic point advantage, phobia advantage, key advantage, everything's in orange player's favor. And as you can see, this is the last turn, so GG. We'll move on to game 2. I was in the lead a bit, but maybe not in keys once my Ginsting died to disease. Yeah, I think that's probably true. That's probably true. So was that it, DT? Like, did you just not see the murder wing, or was it just a miscount? I'm just curious. Because that, like, I literally forgot. I mean, part of it's I'm streaming and I'm talking, so I wasn't paying attention to where every single thing was at all times. But, like, I forgot about the murder wing, and it's like, oh no, that... As soon as I saw the murder wing move into frame, I'm like, yeah, that thing's dead. Because that's a lot of damage. Getting advertised, womp wah. Big old womp womp. Alright, so here we are on game 2. Down 1 game is our blue player, DT, spawning in the bottom left corner, opening with Bachelor and Snowball. But up here in the top right corner, our orange player in the orange trunks is Player himself, hoping to close out this series. It's getting late in the stream, which, by the way, if you want to see some live Phobies action, come on by the live stream over on Twitch, RTChompGG. But this is where our orange player is hoping to close out the series on Scoposium. I'm having difficulty speaking. It's getting rough. So, the answer to the Snowball plus Bachelor opening is Murder Wing and Venus. Venus got some significant trap hits in last game. Definitely seemed valuable. So we see the 2-0 panic point advantage and, as mentioned in previous game breakdowns, Quagmire on Scoposium, however you say it, as well as Alligator actually represent a lot of value because they can ignore the lava tiles. This is actually pretty cool. So the Murder Wing is going to come down here and is able to cap this point. The Gin Sting is in position, and we get a Newly Dead's follow-up. So we have a 2-1 panic point advantage. This is fairly standard, I'd say. The Newly Dead is going to get a little awkward because it's going to be a challenge. Oh no. Not like this. Alright, if you have a drink, pour one out for your Murder Wing here. Look at the Snowball gloating about this. Look at the Snowball gloating about this. Snowball is just like, yeah, buddy. Fried Murder Wing, exactly. Oh no. Somebody have some buffalo sauce, because we got the wings. Oh no. That's rough. That's rough. So we get the invade from Quagmire. Expected because it's difficult for this thing to go down. It's going to heal. You could obviously retreat onto the healing spa, but we get the follow-up spider here. You get the follow-up spider, which means that the Quagmire is going to have to bail in order to ensure that it lives, because otherwise it gets yoinked and there's enough follow-up. But DT is able to supplement the Quagmire with an Alligator, so now you have both of the big healers on this map, or the big self-healers. Now, the Quagmire doesn't have to retreat very far because it's able to just body block here, and that should provide enough cover given the healing that it already has. Granted, it's not even quite 900 health, but it should be enough to get through. This only has one move. The spider can't really yoink anything profitably here. We'll have to see if maybe I'm missing something. And we have a jar on the stim, and we now have 4-0 panic point advantage. We're halfway through the game according to the turn count, and we can kind of see why. So the Newly Dead is clearly not long for the world, because it's going to get burned down, and then the Bachelor is going to reclaim it, and we'll see another 4-0 blue panic point advantage. The supplementing Stairmaster feels like it makes sense, but as I've seen in my games when I try to answer either Quagmire or Alligator with Stairmaster, because it pushes damage, like a lot of damage comparatively, it doesn't ever quite feel like enough. Plus, if this thing ever steps into range, it's going to get annihilated. That being said, it could snipe the jar, or could have. Appropriately, DT protects it, because even though there is the potential to just bait it, is it worth it? Maybe. The Bachelor actually tanks a hit from this trap, which is a little surprising. This is a level 9 Bachelor, So it was able to tank a 590 damage trap. That's actually fairly significant. But Jar comes out, cleans it up. We get a pull onto the Quagmire, which should go down here. Should go down here. So the Quagmire probably... Yeah, the Quagmire is absolutely dead. I guess it didn't have to be there. I understand putting it on the healing spa. But the spider is lurking. That being said, this panic point advantage is weighing heavily. Granted, not quite under halfway yet. You get a recap here to stem the bleeding. But all of a sudden, the position from our orange player doesn't look that bad. Doesn't look that bad. That was a good idea, DT. So we get the Mr. Tramples follow-up, who unfortunately met a very untimely demise in the previous game. But here, it's much more well-protected, and we get an invade from the alligator, which I can appreciate because the alligator is so sturdy that it's not going to die here. The pull is down. We get an elimination on the Venus, get a pretty solid invade because DT is threatening follow-up here. While the Stairmaster could invade, it will die. If any of these other ones go in, they will die. So the question is, how is player going to try and reposition this? We get some pot shots going down on the alligator. We're actually going to see the Stairmaster stand its ground. Now, we obviously have the alligator there. You have Fireball. You don't have Meatball, but you also have Jar. You have an enormous range on Mr. Tramples. That's got to be a dead Stairmaster, among potentially other things. Now, the cat that was squeezed out on a previous turn is able to sneak down and recap this point, at least to even that up. So you can plow through the heart, which people may not realize. So, yes, dead Stairmaster. And we get the retreat from the alligator. Now on the healing spa, it's going to be virtually immortal. 3-1 blue panic point advantage, and Jar hits, and a spare... Nope, no spare murder wing hit because it had to actually fly over. But this is a lot of damage on now a 3,700 health heart. Panic point advantage means that, you know, sizable chunk of damage. Mr. Tramples is healthy enough that it's not going to die very quickly. You know, there's no yoink available that's going to make something happen. Yes, you get Hevo and Jar, but that's not going to kill it. The Jar is in position to hit. Snowball can hit. Murder Wing can hit. This is a lot of damage, and I don't think our orange player is going to be able to actually slow this down. This is one of those plays where, and I've talked about it on a lot of streams before, a lot of recordings before, recognizing when you can just go for the throat and say, I'm ending the game now before there's a chance to elongate the game and give you an opportunity to get back into it. I'm at an advantage. I've been at an advantage. I'm going to close the game out right now. And just like that, I mean, we're on turn 15, but as mentioned, we're going to see the writing on the wall. That early Murder Wing hit really did break a lot of momentum, or set up a lot of momentum. It prevented orange from getting any momentum, and blue obviously had a ton. So, clearly very strong. Was it the only thing? I don't think so. I think there were other plays in the middle. This map is very much about trying to control the center area. That's why things that are so big and sturdy, like Alligator, like Quagmire, represent such a significant threat, because it's, I will take over the spot, and you need like 10 Phobies to kill Alligator. It's problematic. But, GG, we'll head into Game 3 now that this series is even. So what'd I miss? Level up Quags and Alley. Yeah, that's what I was saying before about that. That was a good idea. Bachelor can usually tank a Venus trap. I haven't seen that scenario come up that often, but... some people don't level their 1 keys. Yeah, that's also true. Honestly, I'm doing... that was going to be on my docket for recording this weekend. We'll see how many games I can get through, but... I want to do a beginner video talking about low-key Phobies and how important they are. Like, I think that's going to be my first beginner video in the series. Like, I'm going to do a bunch of videos, but I think that's important enough, because we actually had a new player, a newish player, come into stream last week, I think, and said, we were reviewing a game, and they were just blown away, you know, taking them at surface value, at face value, assuming that they weren't being sarcastic, that like, oh wow, I really do need to use my low-key phobies. And honestly, I think that's a revelation for most people when they're first starting out. Will a lot of people figure it out on their own? Probably, but I think it's worth stating it, you know. The game is just brutal as the last one. I lost control of the center the moment my murder wing died. Yeah, that's kind of how it happened. I don't know, like, when the spider came out, it was okay. But yeah, the control of the middle is the entire map. Alright, so we'll get into game 3. Here we are, everybody. We're on game 3 between our blue player, Player Himself, and our orange player, DT, zoning into crypto. This is for all the marbles with a series split 1-1. So let's see what we get. Now we get again, I keep repeating this, but I think it's important to call out when it's a standard versus unique opener. It's not uncommon and fairly standard to see the Gravedigger opening, breaking some of these obstacles here. We talked about on crypto games before, it allows easy access to your stim, getting things in faster. There's a variety of ways to leverage Gravedigger on this map. The big question then becomes, what does the Gravedigger do after that? Is it just 3 keys to break this obstacle? Because it's probably not good enough. But the way this worked out, we get an immediate beeline from the Gravedigger to the southernmost panic point as compared to the Gesundheit and Cowbell opener from our opponent. And of course, we get a Venus from player here. So, following up from there, we have Gargles coming out of DT in order to take the center panic point. At this stage, there isn't too much to threaten it, because this is a... Whoop, it didn't pause. This is a level 7 and therefore 1888 health Gargle. So you're not going to get the Murder Wing popping out and then just meatballing something. I mean, you can, but it's not going to kill it. It's just going to force it to retreat. Or we could see the Gargles turn into a statue here and lock down this middle point for a few turns. Instead, we see it claiming the bottom one and transforming. That makes sense. So we have triple panic points orange. And we get the invade from the Cowbell plus Gesundheit in order to take down the Murder Wing, which is actually pretty crucial on this map. So the follow-up from there is a jar. Now we get the answer jar from our blue player, who's able to at least soften up the Gesundheit and then eliminate it here with the Gravedigger. The Cowbell naturally goes down because, of course, it's standing on lava. It's not going to live very long. I didn't mention the trap earlier, but it's notably not on a panic point. This is going to be a weird spot for DT to step on. We'll have to see if that actually comes into play. But we get the Bachelor follow-up just to give a little more board control, I would assume, and then a Eternal Night. It wouldn't be a DT game or DT series without the Earl of Eternal Nights establishing their domain. But we now finally get a trap going down on the northernmost panic point. But we do need to see our blue player start taking some of these points, and we do see this right here. Shout out to all the challenges. Get the reclaim because of the kill on the Dimensional Phobie. The follow-up is Cat and Newly Dead, which makes sense. Got to reclaim those points as mentioned. Now, we should be seeing the Gargles pop back into existence soon. Now, the trap goes off, but appropriately DT invested in resurrecting Phobies themselves. That prevents the trap from actually killing this Phobie. Does soften it up. But we see a takedown on Gargles. That's kind of expected. It's very rare for Gargles to actually make it. In the meantime, we're going to have Cat trying to stabilize here because our blue player is actually... They're taking a lot of damage. Taking a lot of damage. This slow advance, well, maybe not too slow. We get an advance from DT. We're closing in on the end of this game here. Right now, it's looking all DT. It's looking all DT right now. We got a lot of panic points going orange. We see some more eliminations going down, or at least softening things up. Now we actually do get the follow-up here so that the newly dead gets to take the center point. There are 6 keys remaining for each player, one of which gets invested in this cowbell. Understandably, you need to be able to preserve this panic point advantage. There's just way too much damage on your heart. 2400 at this stage. Now, the very undead force from DT here is going to try and beat up this Jin Sting. And we're going to get the newly dead... the newly dead beating up the other newly dead. But while they are fairly tanky, I mean, this is almost 1,000 health for 1 key. You know, that's pretty sizable. The trap is able to soften it up. Obviously, the trap was getting laid there because it just makes sense to do it, right? And then there's now a kill onto this Flopsy. We're going to get a kill onto the Murder Wing. And that, when I was saying that it was looking all DT, it's now looking kind of dicey. Although there is that life advantage. So player is out of keys and is going to have to find a way in order to reclaim this point without the cowbell. And there's still 6 keys for DT, so we'll see what the invade, or what the follow-up rather, the invade is happening here to take down this jar, what the follow-up is. And we actually see Moly Bully immediately get out there, followed up by a Droney, which, oh no, that trap, chat, it came back, that trap caught it. So we do have a newly dead on lava. This will actually die to lava and die. We have under 1,700 health. How is this Moly Bully going to go down? Because Cowbell can eliminate the jar. But if you don't... Okay, so we get bees plus a pull plus some hits. And just like that, blue player takes it. That was a pretty savage end there. That was pretty brutal with that Moly Bully, which I thought might have actually made it another turn. But, you know, you can see the turns on the bottom. But, GG, well played to both players. Those are, at least at the time, well, not at the time of this recording, but I managed to record all of the round 1 matches for Fright Night. We're already underway for round 2, and by the time these go live, the event may be over. But if you're interested in playing in some Fright Night, because like I said, by the time this goes live, the event may be over, and you can get in on Fright Night number 3, head over to the Randoms Thoughts Discord. The link will be in the description, or come by the Randoms Thoughts live stream, RT Chomp GG, over on Twitch, so you can check out what's going on for a little bit of the live action. But that's going to do it for this breakdown. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.